there. So the last part of this presentation, we're going to be talking about scholarships. Scholarships are what helps fill the gap between grants and loans you receive and the actual cost of attending college. Scholarships are free money, so we definitely want them. They require a little bit of work on the student's part, but they're definitely worth it. Because there are so many scholarships that can seem overwhelming to people, and they're like, I'm just not going to apply. But once you make a scholarship plan, break down your to-do list into manageable chunks, it's much easier than you would think. So types of scholarships. There are different types of scholarships. There are merit scholarships and need-based scholarships. And then there can be a combination of the two. Merit scholarships are what most of us think of when we think of scholarships. So it's something that you would earn with either academics, athletics, artistic ability, but it can also be levels of community service, your intended major, your residency in a state, or other qualifiers. Need-based scholarships will be based on your FAFSA or your WASFA. There are some scholarships such as the Washington Opportunity Scholarship, and it's a combo of both need and merit. So you will have to financially be eligible, but then you'll have to be academically eligible as well. So kids will often ask us, and parents, where should I go to look for a scholarship? So we're gonna talk about what we always say is we say, go for the top 5, start here, and then if you still have extra questions, we'll help you out. The first 4, we're gonna look at a little bit more in depth. And then, so what the first 4 is the national, the regional, the institutional, and the local. And then the 5th is some additional resources and suggestions. So number 1, where we tell kids to start is we say, look nationally. There are thousands of scholarships out there. They cover a variety of interests, and like all scholarships, they vary on how competitive they are. Scholarships will typically tell you how many awards they give out and the total amount of money to be awarded. So statistically speaking, the more awards and total money available, the less competitive the awards, so the better the probability of receiving the scholarship. So we say to look nationally and create an account and maybe probably just one of these scholarship search engines. Scholarship applications and searches should be free. That was mentioned earlier, but I can't emphasize that enough. We list these search engines and different sites, but you're welcome to use others. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through some of the differences on these sites. So gearup.wa.gov is just a list of scholarships by due date. It's the scholarship name, brief description, the URL to apply, and the due date, and it's just in order. I think it's a spreadsheet you can download and sort however you would like. So if you're just a list person, that's a great place. Also, kind of on that list theme, Unigo can be a great source, but what I like about Unigo is it breaks it up into interest areas in categories. So you could look for athletic scholarships, you could look for artistic scholarships, and that can be nice for people to go that way. The rest of the ones that are listed are search engines that are most useful, or they actually require you to create an account or profile in order to even apply to the scholarship. So basically, they ask you to create an account profile, and then they will match you with scholarships that you're eligible for. And which one you choose of those or of the many others out there is really a personal preference. You might choose a national search engine that you already have an account with. You might like how you can interact with one website better than another, or you might just look at the top one on the list and go with that one. But basically, again, you're going to complete your application or profile. You'll be directed to different scholarships, and each scholarship, after you match with them, may have additional requirements. And it could be in the form of an essay, letters of recommendation, those sorts of things. And I cannot emphasize this enough, but when your student is going through their scholarship applications, it's so important that they save everything, because you can often use an essay more than one time, a letter of recommendation more than once. You'd want to check with your letter writer. And you'll find that a lot of the scholarships ask the same types of questions. So good organization at the very beginning could make applying to multiple scholarships a lot easier than you would think. So after students have looked nationally, we say that number 2 is to look regionally. And for regionally, for us, we say the washboard.org. The washboard.org is for Washington residents. It is provided by the Washington Scholarship Coalition, and it's scholarships that are specifically to Washington residents. Some of the scholarships can be used out of state, so don't ignore this thinking it doesn't apply to your student if they have out of state aspirations. There's a range of scholarships on the Washboard as well. And again, you're going to kind of see the theme of how some of the scholarship searches are working is you are going to create a profile, and the more in-depth you are on your profile, the more scholarships you tend to match to. And the biggest tip on the Washboard and also the national search engines is to check back frequently. There's different times of the year that there's more scholarships posted. I feel like I see more of them starting December, January, February, you see a lot more scholarships. But now is a great time to create an account because you're already putting all that same information to your college applications. So again, once you match to scholarships, just remember that that's not enough. You actually have to apply to them. And so make sure that when you apply to a scholarship, that you're looking through the specific requirements. So you'll just want to make sure, like if it asks for community service hours, you want to make sure that you're proving, like, here's my community service hours, this is where I went. So you want to make sure that you're filling it out completely. And again, if you already completed a national profile, the Washboard should be super easy because it's a lot of the same questions. All right, number 3. So this is what a lot of our students will probably receive a scholarship from. Many students are automatically considered for scholarships when they apply to college, which is a great thing. But it's nice to know kind of just the way it works. So institutions or colleges will provide need-based scholarships to make up for the gap between students' financial aid and the cost to attend school. Not every school does, but some do. So look for those if you have high need. Most schools do have programs that help with tuition, such as there's a UW-Husky Promise. Whitman they're rolling out this year, it's called a Whitman Tuition Guarantee. Basically, if your family makes under $80,000 a year, they're committed to paying your full tuition. So again, many schools have their own programs similar to these, and they're always posted on schools' financial aid pages or scholarships. Schools also offer merit scholarships. So mostly a high school student, you will be automatically considered, as I said earlier, for merit scholarships with your application for admission, but sometimes there is a separate application. So another thing to remember, like we keep talking about your deadlines, but even if there's not a separate application, there may be a separate deadline that's specific to be considered for the scholarship and admission. So make sure you're very aware of that. When you're researching colleges and keeping track of deadlines, make sure you're going to the financial aid page and looking at the scholarships and know those deadlines as well. And then once you're admitted and confirm your enrollment, and so you're officially a student for the next school year, there may be an entirely new portal of scholarships that are opened up to you at the specific college based on maybe your intended major or other qualifications. So most of what we're asking you to do now is going to help you because scholarships is not a one and done kind of thing. You are definitely going to want to continue to apply to scholarships every year. And once you create some of these profiles and accounts, it's just going to be a matter of updating each year with your new experiences and your new qualifications. Other scholarships to consider are for students who, let's say you want to go out of state. WUI is a great option. And if you don't know what WUI is, that stands for the Western Undergraduate Exchange. WUI is available at a number of institutions in the Western United States. And as a Washington resident, you benefit from a reciprocal agreement at colleges, but just remember that each school has different deadlines for their WUI. They have different requirements. They have different majors they allow under it. So it's up to you to know that information. You're welcome to reach out to me. I'm happy to help, but that information is always on schools' admission or financial aid or scholarship websites. Now, if you're really set on going out of state and it's not a WUI school that you're looking at, there can be additional non-resident scholarships as well. So make sure you're doing that research because it can really be worth it. All right, the fourth one happens to be one of my favorite programs because I get to work with students a lot on this one. The fourth is the local scholarship program. So the local scholarship program is a program that started down at Snohomish High School, and now the Snohomish Education Foundation manages the program, and there's over 100 scholarships that are available to Snohomish School District students. Of those scholarships, I think there's more than 60 of them that Glacier Peak students are eligible to apply to. And last year we transitioned from, it used to be called the local scholarship notebook. So if you have older siblings, you might know that term, but it's now more of a program because we no longer are asking students to turn in a physical notebook, which is so great because that would be really hard. What we are now using is the washboard.org. So typically the Snohomish Education Foundation opens the scholarships right before winter break in December. And then usually it's due in February. We don't have, like right before midwinter break in February. We don't have all the specifics yet, but when we do launch everything, I will be putting together some workshops and different resources to help you know what scholarships are available, what the requirements are, and how to apply. But again, it's on the Washboard, and we talked about that earlier. So the basics of your scholarship profile, once you have a Washboard account, it'll be pretty easy for you. So remember, like we talked about before, you do have to do the account. That doesn't apply to the scholarship. So after you have your profile, you're gonna go through all the local scholarships and you're gonna choose which ones you're eligible for. And if you create your account today, or if your student does, then you may not see the Snohomish Education Foundation scholarships just yet because they won't be visible until they open. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. And also just to kind of give you an idea of what type of scholarships are represented in the local scholarship program. There's some for the elementary school you went to, there's some from the middle school, there's Glacier Peak parent clubs, there's some that are like Wazoo specific. There's really been a growing push to have scholarships for apprenticeships and trade schools. So there really is a scholarship for everyone. And finally, 5, the last thing we say is look at who you know or who, well, so you guys look at who you know or who your student knows. So you could be looking at your employer. You could look at clubs that you belong to, clubs your students have belonged to. It could be current memberships. It could be past memberships. There are a lot of scholarship opportunities out there. So it's just important to kind of put your feelers out and see who might be offering one that would make your student eligible. This year, I will be making a point to post scholarships to the 2021 Canvas page. So make sure that your student accepts that page. It's an extra step they have to take when they're in Canvas. I will also add scholarships to the College and Career Center website, and some of them will go into the daily bulletin. Last year, we had a student and he received a ton of scholarships. So I kind of asked him at the end, I was like, do you mind sharing any tips and tricks that you did? And he just basically said he used a notebook, he was super organized, he kept track of every scholarship, he had them divided by type and due date. He knew when they were due, when they sent out award notices, what kind of requirements there were. And he said he repurposed a lot of his essays. So when I'm saying you can use your essays again, but you can't just keep turning the same essay in. You've got to tweak it, or your student has to tweak it and make it so it fits that specific scholarship. But when you do things like that, it really cuts down on the work. And really the main thing is you find, and your student finds, a way to organize all the information in a way that works for you. So it could be a physical notebook, it could be an Excel spreadsheet, but the main point is that you need to stay organized, and starting now will be really helpful. I feel like the first couple scholarships you apply for are the hardest ones, and then after that you have all the information. It's just a matter of doing them. So a financial aid tip that's kind of fun is there's this tool called OtterBot, which sounds kind of goofy, but it's a great tool that you can just text for 24/7 text support. So if you get stuck while you're filling out the FAFSA or the WASPA and you want to ask a quick questions, a lot of times this happens during non-school hours. So OtterBot lets you text your question anytime for an immediate response. And the phone number is there. You just say, Hi Otter, and then start texting away. And the last cost-saving tips are make a good choice on where you're attending. I'll always say keep your options open and apply where you think you'd like to go. But I am a big believer in not ruling out community college or tech schools. You can save a lot of money by going to school locally. The first 2 years of school are a lot of prerequisite type of work and can definitely be done at a local community college. It's a really good choice for a lot of students, especially if they're undecided or if they have a lot of years of school ahead of them. It can save like almost half the tuition of a 4-year school. And then another thought is if you do have your heart set on a school or your student has their heart set on a school and they've been admitted and received the financial aid package, but still you're not sure if you can afford it, talk to the financial aid office. They may be able to help you with payment plans or other options. It's so important that your student continues their education, whether it's in an apprenticeship, military, trade school, a 2-year or 4-year school. Students really won't know what they are eligible for unless they apply, and that goes for admission and financial aid. And that is going to conclude our presentation portion of our evening. Thanks so much for hanging with us.